we're talking about this mechanism for protecting your hearing, but it also does another thing. Think about it like this. When you start listening louder and louder, your ears start closing down a little bit. What does that do? That limits the loudness to your eardrum to protect it. That's the mechanism to protect your hearing, but it also has an effect of actually limiting or compressing the sound. And when you do that, you're actually reshaping the envelope of the sound. So let's just say I'm standing here and I make a loud clap sound, and the energy goes into the ear, and then the ear starts sensing it's really loud, and then you've got that time domain example of a sound going into your ear. By the time it hears this loud part, the muscles are starting to react and they start closing down and change the shape of the envelope slightly. When that happens, you're actually changing what frequencies are in the sound. Remember, we talked about the frequency domain and the time domain being linked. So when you change the shape of the time domain envelope, you're actually changing what frequencies are in the sound. So when you do that, now you're actually adjusting what frequencies you're hearing based upon how your muscles react. That's another reason why things sound better when you listen loudly. Because when you do this, you're balancing out the high frequencies and the low frequencies and adjusting the spectrum. More energy in low frequencies, less energy in high frequencies. But the low frequencies have so much energy that your ear closes down to restrain those energies from getting into your eardrum. And what you're doing is you're reproportioning the spectrum. Remember when we talked about the spectrum? The harmonics above the fundamental frequencies is where you get sound quality. It makes the piano sound more like a piano. The fundamental frequency carries the pitch information. So the pitch information is the lowest frequencies. Those are the ones that are restrained from getting into your ear. The higher frequencies then, in proportion to the lower frequencies, are louder. When that happens, we hear more sound quality. A cymbal sounds more cymbally. The acoustic guitar sounds more like an acoustic guitar. The vocal sounds more real, like a human, because of the upper harmonic sound quality. When you adjust those proportions, that's when it sounds more real to us. We're going to get into a whole week on compression, and that's basically, in a nutshell, what we're doing now. When we get past this hearing part, we're going to start talking about how to manipulate sounds to make them sound better and how to manipulate sounds to make them blend better. But remember, your ear itself does this inadvertently, and it actually creates something that sounds better to you when you listen louder. That's why listening louder always sounds better. And I think I can say that unequivocally, unless it's so loud your ears are bleeding. Psychoacoustics. How we perceive sound is limited by our physical limitations of our ear and the brain's ability to process the information. Because if you get a lot of information so fast going from each ear, and there's 25 to 30,000 nerves hitting different parts of your brain at all times with high frequency, low frequency information, sometimes your brain can't process it fast enough. And that's when you start doing that interpolation kind of processing in your brain. You think that you heard something that might not be there, or you think you heard something differently than what is there. I've done that a few times. Like I thought I heard a hit record. Okay, so physical limitations. Human beings basically hear from 20 hertz all the way up to 20,000 hertz. Well, I'll tell you something. Higher than 12,000 hertz is more of a feeling than a hearing. Because it's so high frequency, it almost goes away. When you get past 10,000 to 12,000, 14,000, most people can't hear much past that. I mean, really distinctly. But that said, as we discussed the spectrum, and the spectrum goes up infinitely, those frequencies actually matter to how we perceive frequencies in the area that we can hear, because it completes the spectrum. And then with those higher frequencies added to the picture, we get the exact sound wave recreated. You know, if you take apart the sound wave and put it into its component frequencies, those higher frequencies are important. Research showed in 2014 that human beings, their brain waves actually respond to frequencies as high as 32,000 hertz. We can't say, oh, I hear that. But if our brain responds to it, there's somewhere we are perceiving it. And it is an important thing that the higher frequencies really means a better sound in the frequencies that we really can perceive. So this changes with age, and it's not exactly the same for everybody. Well, think about it. Low frequencies are going to have a lot more energy. A lot more energy is going to damage your hearing a lot more than high frequencies. How many people have gone maybe to a rehearsal space or to a concert and they give you these like foam things you stick in your ear, right, to protect your hearing? Those are the most deceptive, worst things you can do. I should have said that when we were talking about hearing damage. Because what happens is those foam things you stick in your ear, they let low frequencies through but not high frequencies. Everything sounds duller and you think you're protecting your hearing, so you put yourself in a situation where you get a lot of high intensity sound, but the low frequencies can get through and they're damaging your hearing without you realizing it. And there are specially made ear protectors that you can get that actually have inserts you can put in to reduce frequencies down to 20, 40, 60, and 80 decibels down. Little inserts that fit to your ear and they actually mold to your ear. And those are great because they reduce all frequencies equally. So when you put them in, you don't hear dullness like the other earplugs, but you just hear quieter. So physical limitations, our dynamic range of our hearing, you can hear a sound that's 1/4 louder than the softest sound that you can hear. So that ends up being 140 decibels. Hearing threshold is defined at 0 decibels. SPL stands for sound pressure level. Damage can affect different parts of the spectrum. Depends on what frequencies you're exposed to, at what volumes, for how long. All of that matters, but our body is really resilient. Like I said, I thought that I really damaged my hearing, and within a week it started repairing itself and my hearing came back to normal again. But it was a wake-up call for me. So you got to be careful not to damage your hearing, especially, you know what they say, when you're young, you go, I'll listen loud, it's fun, you know. But you don't realize that when you get to be 50s and 60s, your hearing starts really declining, and the more you preserve it when you're young, the better it is. Threshold of pain is around 140 decibels. That's when you start really feeling pain in your ears.